Now it's
There we
live.
go.
Okay.
Yep, we're live. Hi, this is
Uh-huh.
Rita at Medical Jobs Channel, and our guest Mary is with us today, and we are going to address. So Medical Jobs Channel is here every Tuesday and Friday from 12:30 to 1:30, or in that range. Sorry to be a little late. There's always little technical things that we have to work out. But we started last week making this chat public. So if you have any questions, we are live right now. Please go ahead and send in your questions, and we will try to answer them. So today, we are basing this broadcast on a question that came up last week, and that was, how does a foreign nurse work in the U.S.? Great question. I didn't want to be haphazard. I was somewhat familiar with it. You do need to have a position. You do need to have a bona fide position waiting for you before you go through that whole process. So we are going to go through some basic stuff, and that's why we titled it Foreign Nurses, an Untapped Pipeline. Mary, you are familiar with this from some of your previous work?
I am. And yes, like one of the things here in the States is, there is a shortage of nurses. Now, post-COVID, what that's going to look like, I don't know. But I still believe we'll have a shortage of nurses. So recruiting nurses from outside the U.S. would be an untapped pipeline that could be very helpful. However, there's red tape and lots of steps you have to go through. And nurses who are going to move here have to have a visa, a work visa from the company with that job before they do that. Now, there are companies, and I think you've done some research on this, Rita, right, on companies who recruit these nurses?
Yes. So let's actually start with, I have my little cards ready. So I'm going to start with that first part is, yes, you can work in the United States as a nurse. And there is a process. I'm going to try and make it simple. I broke it down into 4 areas, and all 4 need to be met. As Mary was saying, there's visas involved and so forth. But let's go with number 1. And then, Mary, if I leave anything out that you want to add, please add it. Mary, I can see Mary, and she can't see me. So the first card says, meet the requirements. Meet the requirements. So what are some of the basic requirements? You need to have proficiency in the English language. In many cases, you will have to pass a English-speaking proficiency exam. You need to be a graduate from an accredited nursing school. You need to have a professional RN license. You need to have 2 years of experience. And absolutely, you will need your green card, which is known as the H-1B visa. That's the green card nurses need.
And Rita, one of the things that I remember was a challenge for us and people might want to have is reference checking. When you're doing it from the States abroad, it's very time consuming. So if you do have references from places that you've worked before, obviously it's always good to have one from a previous employer on their letterhead. Keep a copy of it so that you can actually have a hard copy to submit rather than wait weeks and weeks for them to get the reference check.
Yes, indeedy. My one experience, and it was a wonderful nurse, was trained and licensed in Korea. And so not only did we have a hard time because she didn't have her graduation diploma or certificate, and we were contacting people to credential her that didn't speak English, and we didn't speak Korean. It was a heck of a time before we got that job done. Okay, so
another thing, Rita, just another thing you brought up, have the original documents. We would recruit people and they say, oh, my mother has it on her wall. Well, that doesn't help. So if you have those original documents, your original diploma, your original certification from whatever the country you're in, make sure you have those originals. So when you do meet with this recruiting agency, you can share them. You will get them back, but you still need to show them.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Okay, so yeah, those are some of the basic requirements. So when you start thinking about it, think about those requirements. And a big one is have a position. Okay, so secondly, the CG, I'm going to hold up my card again. Okay, I have to back up. So,
one of the things that just to go back to what you're saying, the big thing is to have a position. That's the key piece, right? So how do they know what positions are available? So I mean, are they working through the recruiter to get those positions?
Oh, I will get to that. That's my number 4.
Okay.
So my number 1 is requirements. So yes, you need to have a position, but while you're thinking about a position and finding that position, there are many ways to do that. You just know that you need to come from an accredited school. You need to have English proficiency. You need to have an RN license. You need to have some experience, etc. Okay, so that's when I say meet the requirements. There's a handful of them. There's a handful of them. 2, importantly, is CG. I'm losing my voice. Excuse me. CGFNS. That was formerly known as the Commission on Graduates of Foreign Nursing Schools, but they are now known as CGFNS. They must evaluate your credentials. So they are the people that will screen you, evaluate you, and make sure that you have what you need to come work in the United States. And they are approved by our federal government. And I'm only talking about the U.S. That's what I was asked in the last chat. Somebody wanted to know, how does a foreign nurse work in the U.S.? But I do believe they are the IT people, the CG, let me say it right, CGFNS, okay? They are the IT people. So for example, if you were a Swedish nurse and you wanted to work in England or France, probably that would be a point of contact for you as well.
Okay.
And yeah, they're an important piece of the puzzle. Number 3, important, and you know, we are the United States, we are 50 states, so this could be something. Pass a state licensure exam. So most states have a board of registered nurses, and they provide their own NCLEX. It's called an NCLEX or an exam. That CGFNS, they also have an exam, and it might be their qualifying exam. If it were me, if I were Swedish, which I'm not, but if I was Swedish and I were thinking about coming to the United States and I was going ahead and providing my credentials and all of my information to them anyway, I might take their qualifying exam because it would give me confidence. If I passed that exam, that probably meant I was proficient in the English language, that my training and credentials all met the muster, and that more than likely, if I wanted to come work in, you know, Minnesota or California, that I would probably pass that state exam as well. And then I wanted to mention something else, Mary, you may be aware of this as well. There are a few states that have like a multiple state license, like Arizona, New Mexico, and so forth. Most states, New York, California, most of the states I'm familiar with, they have their own state board. They don't share it with any other states, but there are a few states that do, you know.
Well, there's also states that have reciprocity, though, because I remember when I lived in California and I had my New York license, I was able to get it relatively easily because I had the New York State license.
That's right. There's also that. There's also that. So, oh dear, we lost Mary. Well, hopefully she will call us back. So, yeah, so one of the pieces is you're going to have to pass an exam, okay? And then the final piece is what Mary was referencing to. Oh, she's back, yay. Oh. You know, okay, Mary, I think we're getting much better technology, but I do want to say that that it's busy out there, right? You and I are not, everybody at school, so many people at work, us doing our jobs channel. It's I think it's just busy, so we're going to blame it on the universe. It's not us.
There you go.
Okay, my 4th point is finding a position, and Mary talked about this. You have to find someone in the United States that wants you to work for them full time, and there are a variety of ways to do that. And then you will get your visa that I spoke about. That special, what did I call it? The H1, what did I call it? Oh, the H1B. Okay.
H1B.
So yeah, once you procure a position, then that's part of your requirements. Then you'll get your green card, and your particular visa is going to be called an H1B, unless that's changed in the last couple of months. So let's get back to our fourth point, finding that position. How do you find that position? Well, isn't it wonderful that most of us have the internet and have a computer, or can get to a computer at a school, at a library? Visit Medical Jobs Channel, or probably most of the world has a smartphone. Okay, right. So Medical Jobs Channel, we are right here live now on Facebook. Let's see if we have any questions. Medical Jobs Channel does have experience EHIP. Somebody's asking that question. Do you know what oh, I think they meant help.
Oh.
Does having experience help?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's mandatory. 2 years of experience. I don't know who asked that question, but 2 years of experience would be mandatory. So as far as I know, most clients are not hiring right out of school. So right. 2 years of experience would have to be provided. Let's see. Yeah, so visit Medical Jobs on Facebook. That's where clients will be posting their needs for their jobs. Another way is to visit job boards. Another way is most clients have their own website. So if they're a long-term facility, an LTAC, a long-term acute facility, a hospital, a clinic, most surgery center, you name it, all the various areas where nurses work have a website. So you look there, and that's a great way to find jobs. So the internet brought us all much closer, us employees and employers. And then finally, if you're working with a recruiter, so Mary worked for a huge, huge healthcare organization, and they had a lot of recruiters with very ethical standards. But if you're from Sweden, I don't know why I'm picking Sweden, but I'm picking Sweden. And if you're from Sweden and you don't know much about recruiters, you want to make sure they have great ethical standards. There's a way to check that. You can check that they have this special seal on their website, and it's called the Alliance for Ethical International Recruitment Practices Certified Ethical Recruiter. And that's the seal they better darn have. So there, I've said a mouthful. It's such a long seal. Anyway,
there are also organizations that recruit nurses outside of the United States for placement here in the U.S. So I'm sure on the smartphone or Google, you could also recruit which agencies recruit nurses, because they would actually then probably have the checklist and an easy way for you to get in here. Because, again, one of the governmental rules is, in order to hire a nurse from outside the U.S., you have to prove that you've tried to find a nurse here, or it's difficult and that there's a shortage. We did it a lot with scientists, right? We'd have scientists come from all over the world. But we had to prove that they had a specialty that, they weren't that easy to find, because they want to make sure that they give the jobs to U.S. citizens first. Which is why it's really good to have experience in areas where we know there is shortages here. For example, long-term care. Lots of shortages here in nurses.
Oh my gosh.
So nurses who are working in long-term care, that would be, probably a good place. The OR, or surgery centers, another good area. OB, another good area. Because at least up until a year ago, those areas were still the amount of people who had experience in those areas and or applying in those areas was less than other areas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The L&D and OR were top of the list of where we were always looking for nurses. And long-term, I think with our elder population living longer, and that's not going to stop. You and I are probably going to live 100 years, Mary. Can you imagine? But yeah.
Neck lift now.
So lift everything. Anyway, yeah, I agree. I agree. Long term is a great area to look into, and not only that, the management, the evaluation, the like right now, I think that they have to reevaluate what we do there. You know, how we protect them and so forth. So I don't want to say teaching, but you know, like policymakers. You know.
Right.
What do you call that? That's not administrative necessarily?
Oh, there's a whole subset of nurse policymakers now.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. There you go. There you go.
There's a whole. I know Kathleen used to do the nurse lobbyists used to come down to DC with her, and she would host them around Congress and meet with all the different representatives. So that's a whole booming area that I'm not really that familiar with, but
right.
It exists.
Yeah, no, there are jobs. I guess that's our main point. There are jobs. And if you want to, and I think Mary said it in the beginning, there's a lot of red tape, but to keep it simple, I just wanted to break it down to meeting the requirements. We'll go through it one more time. Meeting the requirements. Yeah.
Can I add something before you review?
Yeah.
One of the key components that is a strength that I think would really be helpful is there's lots more now about community health and population health. And in those areas of population health, it's very diverse communities. And in the United States, we probably have a lot of bilingual, Spanish American, but we don't have as many bilingual Chinese, Korean, other languages that would be a benefit and would be a strength and a reason to hire someone from abroad.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Sweden, you're calling, I'm not sure, maybe in Minnesota there's a big Swedish community, but,
Where are those Swedish people?
But, I mean, there are lots of communities that have a very distinct population, and language, being bilingual is a key component, particularly now with population.
I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. Remember, we were just taking a hike not too long ago in Nevada, and we met a community nurse, didn't we?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
outside of Vegas.
Yeah. So
she's a rural nurse, right?
Yeah. So I think that's exciting too. I think people, when they think nurse, they always think of that bedside nurse. They think hospitals and nursing homes and so forth, but it is so much more than that. So much more than that. Yeah. So and research too. I mean, that's not the biggest one, but it's there. So meeting your requirements and those basic requirements. Yes, you'll need a visa. Yes, you should have the English language proficient and be prepared to pass an exam. Yes, you should have a license. You should have at least 2 years of experience. You should have a petition from an employer to get that visa. And what else? License. Oh, and your accredited school. And as Mary suggested, keep your originals at the very best, and keep copies of your graduation certificates, your education certificates, your license certificates, and then, like Mary said, if you're an OR nurse or you're a labor and delivery nurse, there's usually additional credentials that go with that. There are in the United States, and I imagine there are, in every country. So, so that's your basic requirements. Know that you will be screened and your credentials will be evaluated by the organization known as CGFNS. Probably after today, I'll remember that. Doesn't really roll off the tongue. CGFNS. So it was originally a commission.
It must stand for something, right?
It does. It was formerly known as the Commission on Graduates of Foreign Nursing Schools. Okay. But that is even more to say. So a third and important point as well, that you will have to pass a licensure exam for whatever state you're going to work in. So the United States has 50 states with almost as many exams, not quite, but however, if you come to the United States on your visa and you take a job in New York and then you want to take another job in Florida, there may be reciprocity. Mary mentioned that as well. So those are specifics. If you have those specific questions, please let us know. We're actually live right now. If you want to post a question, we can try and answer it or get back to you with our answers. And then the final thing, if you want to work in the United States, is finding that position. And we mentioned several ways. Just go to Medical Jobs Channel on Facebook or any other places that we are, Instagram and Twitter and places like that. Or go on the job board, go to the specific state, look for the websites of various hospitals. It's really, really at your fingertips, honestly. And then finally, if you're going to work with a recruiter, make sure that it is an ethical, meeting all the ethical standards, and they should have that special seal. I'll mention it again. It's like a 10-word thing, but recruiters should have the seal that is the Alliance for Ethical International Recruitment Practices Certified Ethical Recruiter. That seal should be on any communication you have with a recruiter. So there you go.
All right, good. Well, good luck, everyone.
Yeah, there are plenty of jobs. It's out there. And Mary, thank you so much for tuning in and answering so many questions all the time. And we'll be back. Maybe Mary will be back. She'll be back at some point. But I'll try to let you know. I will be back this coming Friday from between 12:30 and 1:30, and then every Tuesday and Friday. So thank you, nurses, for all you do, and healthcare workers as well. We're not all about nurses, but do focus a lot on nurses because we are nurses. And have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
And take care of your health. Okay, honey. Be well.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.